Good morning, traders, and welcome to this week's Elliott Wave Forex and Cryptocurrency Market Analysis webinar. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you had an eventful week insofar as trading is concerned. My name is Gerald, and I'm a senior technical analyst at Trading Waves, where we wave differently. So this week, we're going to be taking a look at what happened previously in the previous week and what to expect in the week ahead. All right, so that's what we're going to look at next. But before we get started, I would like us to take a look at our contact details, which are at the bottom left of the screen there. If you'd like to contact us, this is how you would do it. Our YouTube channel is Trading Waves. It's named Trading Waves over there. Our webpage address and the rest of the contact details is contained in this the bottom left corner. And this information is actually on the video description of each one of our videos on our YouTube channel. Right, so without further ado, I would like us to start by taking a look at what happened in the previous week. Insofar as the market was concerned, I've got a couple of charts to share with you here, starting with the pound, New Zealand, where we had this particular move that we were expecting here. Looking at this sequence going up from the low there, we were expecting further upside from the lows of the white B here. That's what we had expected. That's the move we had expected. And as you can see, that's the move that played out, right, from this low here. And we still expect more upside. That's pound New Zealand. On pound Swiss franc, what we had expected was a move lower, a little bit of a push lower, and then a continuation higher, like so, right? That's on pound Swiss franc or pound CHF. And what did we get? We got exactly what we were looking for, a move lower. And then we are now in this move here, and more upside is expected, right? On Brent crude oil, the expectation was that it would trade into the blue box here and 10 higher. What did we get? Exactly what we had forecasted. Traded into the blue box, into the lower limit of the blue box, and then traded higher. And more upside is also expected on oil, on Brent crude oil. On Australian dollar, Japanese yen, Audi yen, we expected it to trade lower into the blue box as well. And 10 higher. What happened? On Audi yen, this is the after image of Audi yen. What had happened? Traded into the blue box as expected here and bounced higher, and more upside is also expected on Audi yen. On pound US dollar, similar scenario where we expected it to trade lower into the blue box. It was already touching the blue box. We expected it to trade a little bit lower further into the blue box before turning higher. And what did we get? Exactly what we wished for or we were looking for. Traded lower, then higher, and we expect it to continue higher. All right. On CAD yen, which was already in the blue box at the time of printing this chart, we expected it to rally. And what did we get on CAD yen? Did it rally? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. This pullback here, and we're expecting more upside on, on CAD yen. Aussie CAD, Audi Canada. Finishing this correction here, we expected it to trade lower, especially after this small correction over here. Did we get that? Yes, we did. After this small correction here, it traded lower, and we expect it to trade lower. Right, now let's take a look at what to expect in the next trading sessions of the next week. Starting with the US dollar pairs, The DXY itself, the dollar index. On the dollar index, we had a move from the highs there. As you can see, that's descending to the lows there, and we're expecting a pullback higher. We're expecting a pullback higher there. And last week we were looking at this diagonal here, and we had actually indicated that it was going to break below the diagonal channel and trade lower. Right. So what we were looking for was this. We expected it to break lower. And then any correction here would suggest further downside, but just how far will it go? It may just go halfway and go up to complete this correction before we can see more downside. But we know that the next move, the immediate next move, is to the downside. That is the DXY, Euro US dollar, which is the inverse of the DXY. A similar structure here, at which we were expecting that was going to give us this move here. Okay, it also ended this leg here with an ending diagonal there, as you can see, and it broke, so it could just pull back a little bit lower like that and give us one more to the upside. Okay. Audi US dollar. Audi dollar continuation pattern to the downside there. That's the immediate next move that we're looking at, as it looks to be setting up for a little bit more downside. It won't go that much further, since from this peak here, it looks to have made a corrective structure that is of almost equal legs, if not more. So it might just give us one more down before we get a move to the upside. Right, so that's Audi US dollar, pound US dollar. Start with New Zealand US dollar rather, which is pretty much closely correlated to Audi US dollar. And what we're expecting here also is further downside. And for this to trade a little bit further downside, complete this corrective structure before it can turn higher. Right, so that is a New Zealand US dollar, pound US dollar. Already shown in the recap, we had this corrective structure here. This is the corrective structure that we had here. Reacting higher from there, that we're expecting a pullback lower or sideways before we can expect any more upside on pound US dollar. Right. US dollar CAD. The dollar CAD here, we had these three waves up. Then we appear to be having these three waves lower. It looks like it wants to give us a continuation pattern to the downside there. Okay, that's a dollar CAD. US dollar Swiss franc. Okay, expecting it to continue trading a little bit lower before we can see a move higher in US dollar Canada. It's US dollar Swiss franc, my bad. Right, so that's the US dollar pairs there. Let's take a look at the yen pairs, starting with US dollar yen. Right, on the dollar yen, from this peak here, one can expect that it would give us a further continuation to the downside. From this peak here, it may have made what appears to be an expanding flat correction there. It's a different color. I think pink looks nicer. And we may expect a little bit further downside there on US dollar yen. So any correction, any corrective structure here, we'd be looking for further downside. That's dollar yen. New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen appears to have given us this corrective structure from the peak here, right? And a reaction higher occurred from there. And what we would expect is a pullback for further upside. Pound yen also having corrected in 3 ways from the peak. In 3 ways from the peak there, we got what appears to be an impulsive move. What we would be looking for is for consolidation sideways or correction lower before we can take it to the upside, or we can see more upside on pound yen. On euro yen, also has corrected lower from the peak. Also in 3 ways there, gave us an impulsive move, gave us this correction, and it broke outside of that correction to the upside. Let's just zoom in a little bit to see that corrective structure a little bit clearer. Right, so it gave us this 3-wave pullback from the peak. This 3-wave pullback, 1, 2, 3, gave us what appears to be an impulse and gave us a pullback. It appears to be a regular flat correction, and it looks like it's set to go to the upside. For more upside, and that's euro yen, CHF yen. Also more upside expected, in line with the rest of the yen pairs. From these lows here, it gave us what appears to be an impulse here, and then it's a pullback there, and it broke above it. It looks set to continue to the upside there. That's a CHF yen. CAD yen, as indicated in the trade recaps, was in the blue box, having given us this corrective structure from the peak in 3 swings, and gave us an impulsive move higher, and give us this correction here. Appears to be an expanding flat correction, and has since rallied from there. So we're expecting more upside. Any corrective structures here would be looking to take it to the upside. Pound pairs, starting with pound AUD. Before we go there, let's take a look at AUD yen. Just to complete the yen pairs there, AUD yen also giving us this 3-wave pullback from the peak there, and gave us an impulse, a nice zigzag, what appears to be like a zigzag, lower, and would expect more upside once the correction is done. All right, that is all on the yen pairs. The indicators on these yen crosses not yet confirming that we are ready for upside. We'll be waiting for the indicator to give a confirmation, and I'm referring to all the yen crosses, and this is an exception with an exception to the US dollar JPY. I'm talking just about the crosses only. Pound pairs, starting with pound AUD, has been rallying to the upside. One should rather say has been correcting to the upside, more like a motive sequence. But as we can see here, this whole move here is this whole move that starts from these lows, from about these lows here, is actually correcting the move that precedes it. Okay, we're expecting a little bit more upside on pound yen before we can see more downside. Let's just zoom in a little bit and see what structure we can find here at the current price level. Okay, it looks like it gave us a running flat structure here, and then it's continued to the upside. Any hourly corrective structures here or continuation patterns here would be looking for a little bit more upside on a pound AUD or pound AUD, pound CAD. Also correcting the move that appears to be coming from the highs this side. Let's just show the entire move here. It would be this particular move here. Right? And the current price appears to be corrective, so we might get a move to the upside as a further continuation of this corrective structure here. We forecasted most of this structure here in the video from last week. We did show that how did we forecast this particular moves here. All right, so here we've got that 3 to the upside, And that 3 there, what we would expect is further continuation to the upside. So a break above this structure, consolidation afterwards, we would expect more upside. All right. We obviously have a strategy that we use to enter the trades. We also have a way of forecasting. It's not similar to any other Elliott wave trader. It's very different and unique. We look at the market differently, hence our slogan, we wave differently. That's pound CAD, pound Swiss franc. It's already shown on the recap there. We had expected this move. It was at around this area here. We expected this move lower and then a move higher. We appear to have gotten those moves there. And now we are in this pullback, looking for more upside on pound Swiss franc. The next one is, and the last one is pound New Zealand, pretty closely related to pound AUD, expecting more upside there. So similar to pound AUD, current move here would be correcting the move from this peak here that precedes it. Okay, so we're still expecting more upside on pound AUD, and therefore more upside on pound New Zealand as well. Zooming into this current structure here, we might get a little bit more downside before we can get that move to the upside that we're expecting or anticipating. We've had these 3 waves up. What we're looking for could be possibly these 3 waves down before we get the continuation to the upside. Okay. That's what we're looking at on pound AUD. And that's all the pound pairs. Let's take a look at the euro pairs, starting with EURAUD. EURAUD pretty much similar in structure, and not exactly the same, but in the direction, it's correcting the move that preceded it. It's similar to the pound AUD, the EURAUD, and we would expect a little bit further to the upside before we can see a move to the downside. So any corrective structures here, especially on the 1 hourly, we're looking to take that to the upside, but soon we'll be seeing a reversal to the downside on pound AUD. And this is EURAUD, would also be expecting that. On Euro Canada, expect further downside. From this peak here, we had 5 swings in this leg, a very shallow pullback there, and it is broken lower than that. Any correction here, we'll be looking to take it to the downside. We can zoom in there a little bit and see the structure a little bit more clearly. 5 swings that I was referring to here. Classic Elliott wave, 5 waves here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have a pullback, albeit shallow, but we can accept that, and we can get a pullback or a consolidation in this area here for further downside. On Euro Canada, so the CAD will be somewhat stronger as one correlates it to oil. Euro Swiss franc, we're looking for further downside here. We are in this leg here. We had 3 waves up. You may not see it from this side, but currently we are looking for consolidation for further downside on Euro Swiss franc. No sign at all of reversal at this stage. Even our indicator does not show any signs of reversal. So we'll just be looking for consolidations and pullbacks before we can take it further to the downside, as that appears to be the bias. Just to give you a little bit of a clearer or a deeper view, see we had this three swings here to the upside here, right? And we're expecting further 3 swings eventually to break this low, right? And I'm not just saying that, and I'm saying what I'm saying because I've got a higher time frame view from the weekly of what the structures are like. So I'll let you in on this one only, so you can sort of have an insight of how we forecast the market, right? So let's take a look at the daily time frame, just to explain the structure here. Right, so we've had a sharp impulsive move to the downside from the peak there. This completed the swing from the high. This comes from much higher than what it is, but what we've had since was 1, 2, 3, right? And then we had, let's use a green color here, a 1, 2, 3. We thought this was done, but what it did, it gave us another 1, 2, 3, as I've just shown. What does that mean? We should expect another 1, 2, 3. Hence, I'm expecting it to come and break this low. This being a WXY, X, Z, 11 swings in this correction before we can see any further upside there. Okay, and this would be a corrective structure that corrects the move that precedes it, right? So that's a EUROCHF on the 4-hour. Let's take a look at EUROPOUND. EUROPOUND, we had initially thought, or previously thought that it has finished its correction here, but it's still within the 100% equal leg area, so it will still give us a little bit more downside. 1, 2, 3. We thought it was done here, but it looks like it's not done. Our indicator confirms nothing to the upside at this stage, so we will be looking for more downside before we can expect upside. There's a couple of possibilities on EUROPOUND. We explain those to our members in the daily technical videos that we have, the live technical analysis sessions that we have. We explain it very clearly. So here we can get a consolidation for further downside. Our members have got a full insight into each one of the instruments that we're describing today as to what is to expect next and what are the possible alternative counts on all the 52 instruments that which we analyze for our members. Euro New Zealand, pretty much similar to AUDNZD, Euro Australian dollar rather, EURUSD. We're expecting this correction to continue as it corrects the move that precedes it, right? So we had a move lower, and then we are currently in this pullback here. Okay, so what do we expect next? And how far will it go? So what we can expect next, pretty much similar to what you saw on EURAUD, we could just get one more down before we get more upside. So we are looking for upside overall. So we can get something like this for more upside. That's a Euro New Zealand, and that's all the Euro pairs. Let's take a look at some of the cross pairs, starting with the AUDCAD. AUDCAD, we're expecting a pullback that corrects this move from these lows here. Expecting it in 11 swings as well, pretty much similar to the pair that we've just had a look earlier, EURJPY. So we initially had this move up, and we are now correcting that particular move there. Initially, we thought when it reached this level, it was done, since it had given us what appears to be 3 swings in this correction, 1, 2, 3, but it consolidated again and broke lower, right? So what does that mean? That means we could be having WXY, XZ once again before we see a move higher. So all the projections as to how far the Z leg would go and what we should expect in relation to the preceding move has been shared with our members. They are very well aware. We actually have a trade setup that we took here for our members, expecting this move to the downside after this correction was completed. Members in profit at this stage and looking for more profits as the pair keeps tanking. Australian dollar, Swiss franc, AUDCHF. We've had an impulsive move that preceded the current correction. And what we're looking for is a corrective structure to continue further. Okay. So what's next? Any pullback here, especially on the 1 hourly, would be looking to take it further to the downside. It won't be going all the way, and it won't go at the same time, or in a straight line rather. It will be having its dips and bounces. Right. AUD New Zealand, further downside, as has always been expected and forecasted. Had this particular corrective structure here. We broke below it. Our members knew way before that we were gonna get this particular corrective structure and a move to the downside. We're expecting this move further down to either come and take this low or break even lower. And depending on what the market does when it reaches this level here, we will be able to adjust our account and confirm or eliminate the possibilities in this corrective structure here. Okay, so just to let you in a little bit, it could be that, right, as an impulse, correct? Then we could have a corrective structure here. It could be a triangle, it could be a flat correction, but as to which one, we already know which one is which of the two possible structures is very likely, and our members are in on it. What we expect here is further downside. So expect more downside on Aussie New Zealand, CADCHF. One of the simplest pairs to analyze is an Elliott wave trader. We've had this pullback from this peak here, 1, 2, 3, and an impulse higher. What we would expect next is a move higher, but not before it completes the correction that which it appears to be making at this current stage. So we had this impulse after it reached the blue box. Now we can expect something like this and higher. We obviously don't just take a trade just because it made a pullback like that. We look at our indicators and whether these particular moves are in line with the indicators that we use. The indicators simply just support the strategy, the entry strategy that we have. We've got two most powerful strategies that I've ever seen, and we use those for entry and they work amazingly well. Our members are benefiting greatly from this. That's CADCHF, New Zealand, Canada, pretty much similar to AUDCAD. We're expecting more downside. Any corrective structures here, especially on the 1 hourly, we'll be looking to take it to the downside. So the next move would be downside on AUDCAD, as well as New Zealand CAD, AUDCHF, right? And this is all logical. When you look at the higher time frame, you don't just come here and look at this particular structure here and say just because it looks corrective, then it means it must be going this way. Well, you may be correct, but how far will it go? And what is it correcting? That's very important. And we cover those aspects in our course offering, as well as our daily mentorship sessions for our members. They already know, our members, how far this will go and what is it that is correcting and what is the higher time frame view insofar as the Elliott wave is concerned, and the counts on this one, as well as the alternative possibilities. New Zealand Swiss franc also expected to continue to the downside. This one is almost very easy to see the impulse there, and this is a corrective structure. It's not done yet though. We're expecting further downside. We've got a clear breakdown of what this structure is. For someone, it may look like something that makes no sense, absolutely no sense, but to us, it's as easy as a pie. We know exactly what this structure is from the peak here. We've got all the counts here, then we're expecting further downside there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So just to give you a hint, all right? So our members know exactly what to expect and how far it should go. That is a New Zealand chief, and that's all for the cross pairs. Let's take a look at some commodities, and then we will end with indices. Commodities, silver and gold, looking quite interesting, I must say. Starting with the silver there, from this peak here, we had a 3-wave corrective structure, all right? So we had this move here, and then we have its correction, right? Is it done here? It looks like it may be done, but what we expect next is that after this corrective structure, we can get more upside, okay? However, it's possible that we may still be going down, right? With that being an expanding flat correction for more downside. So our members know which of these possible alternatives is the most probable based on our way of looking at the market and analyzing it, obviously with the support of our methodology and the indicators that we use. The same thing is applicable to gold here. Gold had this impulsive move higher from the lows, see? And we had this corrective structure there with an extended C lower, right? Is it done here? Well, it looks like it gave us the impulsive move. We could just be in a corrective structure for more upside. So what to expect next? More downside before upside can be seen. That is a gold, platinum. We're going to be taking a look at oil last. Platinum giving us 7 swings lower up to here. In this structure there, we thought it was done here, but it went up correctively, and it looks like it wants to stay in the correction, possibly to do something like this for more downside before it goes, in which case it will be giving us WXY, XZ, which is 11 swings before more upside. All right. That is platinum. Oil already is shown on the recap, having corrected very nicely into the blue box from this peak here with 3 swings lower with an extended C leg or C wave. The C leg here, right into the blue box, and we saw this rally here. More upside should be expected on oil. And that's it on the commodities. Let's take a look at the indices, which is the last one. Indices are the simplest instruments in the market to analyze. Very, very simple. Let's start with the S&P 500. Indices have almost always been bullish, except for the small pullbacks and some of the larger pullbacks. But otherwise, the indices have almost always been bullish. And one can see, if you are a trend line trader, for instance, and you draw a trend line from about here, you'll see it's been on the uptrend, been on the rise. So it's very easy. Almost any pullback you want to look to buy. Under no circumstances should anybody consider selling or think of selling the indices until the sequence is completed. So we haven't considered selling the indices in a long time. I mean, look at the trend here. If you look at it from the current data that I'm showing, which is only part of the data that is available on indices, it's just been going up, pulled back, didn't go lower than that, continued higher, broke above that one, the previous peak, and is continuing higher. We forecasted all this move in 2019, that we were going to get this move to the upside up to above 4,000, and we are now above it. So what to expect next? We've just made the all-time highs once again, as this would have been as at 19th or so of August or just before that. Breaking above this peak here, the correction here would be looking to take it higher. This would be applicable to pretty much the rest of the indices, especially the US indices, right? S&P 500 as one of them. Let's take a look at the Dow. Pretty much similar, also breaking above this previous peak there, consolidating, expecting more upside next. There's the Dow there. The NASDAQ, not any different, really. Look at the trend, even from this low here. It's looking upside. Broke above the previous high, wants to give us a correction there. We're looking for more upside on the DAX. That's the NASDAQ rather. Right? JPN 225, the Nikkei, appears to be the only one which is correcting lower, but the trend doesn't change. It's simply just within a correction here, having given us what appears to be 1, 2, 3. Let's redo that. 1, 2, 3 there. We're expecting it to correct a little bit lower before we can get a move to the upside there. Okay. When this correction is done, we expect more upside. That was the Nikkei, right? The UK 100, nice pullback. This is clear, and hence I say the indices are the simplest instruments to analyze in the market. 1, 2, 3, impulse, it corrected here. Let's clear that and show correction. It corrected here, okay, broke above it, and it looks like it wants to consolidate some more, and we'll be looking for more upside on the indices here. And just look at that, very, very clear, right? That's the UK 100. Okay, we've already taken a look at the NASDAQ, the DAX, the German 30, pretty much similar, no different at all. So indices are generally bullish. From this low here, or from this peak here, we've had what appears to be expanding flat correction, followed by an impulse, a pullback. We're expecting more upside next. How far will this go? We know. Our members also know. And they trade confidently, knowing that the system that we follow is very, very accurate. Okay, the Nifty. Does it get any easier than this? I don't think so. I mean, just look at the trend from the low. Even if you have to go to a higher time frame, you'll see that it's just been going up, up, and up. Okay, what we expect here is consolidation. You can see the consolidation already on the 4-hourly, on the 1 hour for more upside. So that's the Nifty. Well, the SPY, which tracks the S&P 500, is an ETF, pretty much similar. It won't be any different in terms of the structure from the S&P 500 cash index. All right, so that is basically all on the Forex, indices, and commodities for today. And I would like to thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to our video, share our video far and wide, and visit our website at www.elliotwave-principal.com. I'm going to try and write that quickly, www.elliotwave-principal.com. All right. And once again, I would like to thank you very much. We'll see you again next week. Happy trading and trade safely.